Hello, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to this group Falcon Cup match here in the Chocobo group between Taylor Swifting and Kryspyslick. I'm Roddy Sniper here in the booth alongside Veritas Knight. We've got FBL running the restream, and we've got Rexol pushing the buttons and doing the tracker for us. So, yeah, we are here for a Tsunami Open match between these two, and pretty high stakes match here for our runners here tonight, Veritas.
Yeah, that's right, Roddy. So we've got two runners, Taylor Swifting and Kryspyslick. They are currently sitting third and I think fourth in their division. Taylor Swifting does still have a chance to advance. So Taylor Swifting has to win tonight. If he wins, and there is a specific outcome in his group, and I would have to look, but basically, in order to have a chance of getting through to the Whale Cup, Taylor Swifting's got to win. It's all on him. But Kryspyslick can play spoiler, and there's nothing quite as exciting as having the pressure off and knowing all you have to do is go out and do your best. I think that always leads to some excellent runs and some excellent games. So I'm particularly looking forward to seeing how this one shakes out.
That's an excellent point, Veritas. You know, there is something to be said about just being able to play Free Enterprise and just do what you know how to do without as much pressure and just have fun with it. And Tsunami Open is definitely a flag set these runners can have some fun with. It highlights one of the unique changes to our new 5.0 alpha version of the randomizer, and that is the fact that we have two potential win conditions that these runners can choose from. Depending on both runners will either need to defeat the King or Queen of Feymarch, trade away either the Rat Tail or the Pink Tail, and forge the Legend Sword with the Adamant, and then they can either collect 12 key items, find the pass in a random chest and unlock the pass door, and then find the magma key and drop that into the Agart well, and they will unlock their path they'll get the crystal to go fight Zeromus. Or they can defeat 20 bosses and find the darkness crystal somewhere and complete the Giant of Babel, and then they'll just win the game just like that. So, you know, two very different approaches. We've seen runners take both options here. Going to be interested to see how this seeds shakes out and see which one sees that clear path to victory first.
Yeah, right, you are. So you're going to need a few key items for success. You have to find the hook. Now, we've set this up. This is a force hook route. So that hook is on the overworld somewhere. The runners are going to find it, and they have to find it if they want to do the Giant of Babel. That is because we're using a new flag. We are using our K late dark flag, so the darkness crystal must be gated by the underworld in some way. So they're not going to find the darkness crystal until they find the hook. So they've got to get in there. They're looking for that adamant rock. They're looking for at least one tail, and then it's their choice from that point on. So we've got a starting edge. We've got a king. He's handing over the legend as we knew he would. That is an item we're guaranteeing our runners start off with. And they are heading out with that Porum. So they've got a Porum, and they've got an edge.
Yeah.
What do you think about this starting party?
Great starting party. You got a white mage, and in that starting archer kit that they received, they received poison arrows and the Artemis bow. So that's going to be a weapon that Porum can utilize to help do damage, especially if they have a little bit of hard time finding a good sword for Edge on the overworld. Edge's initial flame is great. He's got plenty of speed to help things out, but giving Porum that bow lets her chip in with the damage almost immediately as well.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're seeing Taylor Swifting doing a little bit of looting, finds a nice little long sword for Edge hanging out in one of the houses there in Baron. Kryspyslick, knowing that we are going to have to raise that hovercraft, has headed over to Dam Cyan and is going to check the treasury there. Taylor Swifting's peeked the inn. We have a Sid waiting for us behind at least an Asura. Is not going to start that fight right away, as we don't have a huge amount of gear. We have Sineki on, which means our characters only start with one basic weapon. Even though Porum will have access to that Artemis bow, I would think it's not enough to try to risk that. Especially since while we do not have Permajoin on, we do have no duplicates and we do have the buy flag. So once you say goodbye to a character, you will not see that character again. As you've seen in Damn Cyan, we also turned off free characters for this flag set.
Yeah, Taylor Swifting now going into the Watery Pass. The treasure here is weighted, so it's going to be a little bit better than other parts of the map because it's so out of the way, and there's really no other reason to come here other than to loot. So they've bumped that up. They bumped that up a little bit there. Notably, finding a Dwarf Axe, which can be equipped by that Sid to slow him down and make him better to manipulate his agility later in the game. Also finding two pretty decent ninja swords between Baron and that Watery Pass.
Yeah, definitely is going to be helpful for the edge if Taylor Swifting decides he's going to go try to do some early fights. That's certainly on the table. Now Taylor Swift is going to raise the hovercraft, but that edge starts back road. That's really nice, starting with a boomerang in hand. So that'll be a nice little surprise for Taylor Swifting when he opens up his item screen. Kryspyslick doesn't quite have the amount of ninja swords required, but should be able to get through this upcoming replacement antlion fight no problem.
Yeah, the boomerang's not a very strong strong weapon, but it does allow Edge to attack from the back row, which is important because we have the vanilla back row glitch enabled here, which basically says that when the back row glitch is turned on, it kind of forgets to turn it off. So Edge will always be treated like he's hitting from the back row. Even when he doesn't have that boomerang, he can sit in the back of the party, in the back line, and enjoy the defensive benefits and still avoid the offensive penalties.
Yeah, exactly. And that is going to be a very, very useful strategy, especially early game, making sure that these characters can survive any errant strokes they might take from the opposing forces. That Dwarf Axe is another thing that can back row people. Most notably, it can back row a Cecil, can back row a Kane, and Kryspyslick has found that required hook in the antlion layer. That is interesting to me.
Yeah, that's a check that sometimes runners will put off till the end on their overworld checks or later because it's a little annoying to get into. The starting exits that they give the runners in this flag set do kind of make it a little bit easier, but is a somewhat popular check to skip.
Absolutely, and I have to think that Kryspyslick is gonna have to make some interesting decisions here. The hook opens up a fair bit. You could pop over to Cave Eidolon. You could check the higher tier shops and chests there. The monster boxes are randomized, so there is a little bit of a risk. You could get the character that's hanging out in Cave Eidolon. It really does mean you don't have to do too much more of the overworld if you don't really want to. But we'll probably want to do a little bit of looting because we are hunting for that pass. We need the pass for option 1, victory option 1. There are 3 passes. They have been placed in random treasure chests around the world. You won't find a pass by doing bosses or by completing key item checks. So you've got to be looking in chests. You got to loot if that's the way you intend to play through the game.
Both these runners picking up Iridia on top of Mount Hobbs, and I think that sort of incentivizes the loot a little bit more because Iridia can be a very powerful character and maybe allow you to open up that hook, go through that hook route a little bit sooner than normal if you can find a Leviathan or a Sylph. I believe the runners found an Asura summon in the Baron Inn, which is outstanding healing, especially when Porum is busy helping out as a melee attacker with the Argus bow.
Yeah, it seems like for now, Taylor Swifting has decided that the Iridia will stay unconscious, which means she could be an anchor for this party, making sure that Taylor Swifting can manipulate his agility as he plays through the game, or he could be intending on slinging her later on. So we're going to get some experience point modifiers. We'll talk about that in a minute, but of course, if you have a character who's more than 5 below the party average, they're going to get double XP until they're caught up to that 5 up. So we try to get a bunch of experience. You sling that character up high, you get a whole bunch of cool spells. It gives Taylor Swifting options keeping Iridia on the ground, especially since she's not going to participate too heavily in these early fights.
Yeah, meanwhile, Kryspyslick finding a Sylph Orb in Fabul's item shop and did pick one up, so is going to probably be utilizing her as a damage/healer. Meanwhile, seeing long swords available in the weapon and armor shop, and making sure to pick up something for Edge, since he didn't pick up that long sword in Rosa's mom's house in Baron.
Yeah, that really helps. Really helps Kryspyslick close the equipment gap on the Edge there. Taylor Swifting through the Asura, no problem. Gets a couple levels in the Porum. The next fight, of course, no worries. Oh, it's a Vow. Ooh, that's fun. Kryspyslick is going to head on up and, I believe, defend Fabul from the evil that besieges it. Now, normally this would be a Fabul gauntlet in the vanilla game, but we're not going to see any gauntlets at all this game, are we?
No, we are not. There are several of the bosses that have been excluded using the new settings here in the randomizer, because we do have that giant objective, trying to avoid making that a little bit too easy. You're going to see. You're not going to see the King Queen Eidolon. You're not going to see. You're not going to see Dark Knight Cecil, which is sort of good and bad depending on how your party's set up. You can take advantage of that. You also have no free bosses on, which means that if you do see some bosses that you can normally use, like hourglasses or coffins, to easily dispatch, they're not gonna be affected by that.
Yeah, it also turns off scripted victories, like turn off karate, but the paladin bonk on karate is an example. The R crumble for a water hag. So it's a spoon. There is one very nice throw for the Edge. Taylor Swifting finds the twin harp. Now, what's really interesting about finding the twin harp here is, because it's not gated by the underworld, we know the darkness crystal isn't there. One of the other required items, one of those tails, or the magma key, that could be hanging out there, or the adamant rock, but they know it can't be the darkness crystal. Now, we do not have too many key items on the moon. In fact, there's only one potential key item spot, as we've got K Summon on. A lot of key item spots are hanging out in the underground, though. So getting underground, that's going to be almost certainly where they find that darkness crystal. Like, they're going to find the darkness crystal down there, but there's a lot of places to check.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I think will disincentivize Taylor from going after that twin harp, unless they really want to listen to one of the randomized harp songs there. We have two flags that are going to affect the distribution of the key items. One is K Miab below, meaning that the monster boxes in Sylph Cave, the one warrior's chest in the Path of the Fey March, and then the alert chests in the lower tower of Babel can potentially have key items there. There's also no. I'm forgetting the exact name of the flag, so forgive me. But there's nothing unweighted, K unweighted. It's the flag that puts K main checks as having a better chance of having a key item than a monster box. That's gone, so you have an equal chance of those monster boxes panning out, as opposed to just the story quest locations.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Roddy. And that makes it so that the monster boxes in the underground, which that's going to be the Feymarch chest, the 7 chests in the Sylph Cave, and the 4 alert chests in Lower Babel, all of those become way more important. Routing, pathing, what you take, where you go first, all of those things are going to influence the outcome once they get down below. Kryspyslick is going to clean up a little bit, pick up both a Sid and a twin harp. You know, both things runners traditionally love to find during their quests. Taylor Swifting's down doing some selling in Cave Eidolon. Sirens are available, which I think is very, very nice.
Yeah, this is one. I think this is the only flag set in this tournament that held. Oh, and a curse ring was well in that shop. That's definitely a. I'll come back after I get some more loot and sell that. Sell for that. This flag set has just standard shops, so you have a good chance of finding those very powerful items from the Japanese version of the game, like Bacchus wines, like sirens to summon rare enemy encounters, or hourglasses. So not quite as helpful for taking out bosses, but still might be ways to get you through some of these monster boxes.
So we're seeing Kryspyslick head on over to Castle Eidolon. I assume he's going to do some looting. Not sure if Kryspyslick's looking for the monster boxes. I guess we'll find out in a second. Yeah, it looks like he's going to take some of those monster boxes and try to get some experience. Looks like the Cave Eidolon character is a Kane. I think that's probably pretty good for Taylor Swifting. You want someone else who can do a little bit of punch. You're not married to that Sid, I would expect, at this point.
Yeah, I think this is going to be his 5th character, so we'll be able to keep that Sid as an anchor, I believe. But yeah, this is a very balanced party. You've got 2 melee attackers, you've got a black mage, you've got a white mage. We've got Sid that can be an anchor, as well as also a chemist to help keep the party healed up. So very strong, very solid party so far.
Yeah, we'll see if Taylor Swift encounters anybody else along the way. Uses the Dwarf Axe to back row that Cane. I believe it is the only weapon in the game that can do that. So very handy to have on hand when you see that Cane at the end of the cave. Cane at the end of the cave. It sounds like a children's book, doesn't it?
Yeah, though I'm not too sure that Cane really provides too many morals for children.
Listen, all you have to do is stab your best friend in the back. It's okay. It's normal. Boy. Yeah, it looks like Taylor Swift is going to try to pick up a little bit of gear. Has encountered the monster box. Probably okay with that. Wants to get a few levels on that brand shiny new Cane. Kryspyslick is going through and taking those chests.
Yeah, I did miss what Kryspyslick got from that first monster box encounter in Evelyn Castle. Charm Rod, thank you, Rex. That'll be nice for the Rydia. That'll add 10 wisdom to her stats.
Yeah, that's going to help her get that damage on the go. Let's see what the Staleman chest brings Taylor Swifting. Other than 6 levels for the King. That's not a bad start. Oh, wow. Nice hit. That Masamune sword is going to really get that edge up and running as Taylor Swifting hits the bosses in the upper Babel boss zone. Ran out of words.
Yeah, that's a very strong weapon, top of the class weapon for edge there. So very nice to have one of those in hand. We did see the Magus sisters as the boss at the second boss spot where Rubicon would usually be in the hook route here. Probably hoping a little bit to find a mute knife somewhere or something that can take advantage of that mage weakness of the sisters, because we don't really have any good AoE right now. It's just going to be going from attack. So
Taylor Swifting does have some mute arrows in inventory.
Okay, that's good. That'll work with those.
Already low. Yeah, that should take care of the business that it needs. Looks like, did Kryspyslick bounce off that chest? Oh. So I think he already did, though. Yeah, he looks like he bounced off the second chest there. Back to take another swing at the Mad Ogres. Oh, dear.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But, it does happen. Just kind of got to dust yourself off and either, going back and getting that Charm Rod again, getting that experience, and we'll see if he goes back for more chests or decides to go through the hook route.
Yeah, certainly is going to want to get as much experience as possible here. It looks like he's setting up use the Hourglass 2s, will shut those Mad Ogres down, and is setting up a Berserk. I would imagine is getting ready to throw out some life potions. Taylor Swifting's got 4 Mad Ogres on his side, and I think it's going to do much the same. Yeah, there goes the Hourglass 2. So we've got dueling Mad Ogres here, different chests, but the exact same style of fight. And we are going to see, I think, if possible, some life glitches. Do you want to walk us through the life glitch?
So in Free Enterprise, or in Final Fantasy IV, life potions do 5 times revive a character with 5 times their vitality. If you target a enemy with a life potion or the life spell before they fade away, you will cast it on them. Unfortunately for the enemies, they have 0 vitality, so they get revived and then they promptly die again, meaning that you get double credit for defeating that enemy. So it's a good way to maximize your experience from a particular encounter rather than have to take extras or go hunting for more fights.
A really great way to help yourself accelerate those experience points. And speaking of accelerating experience points, I promised we'd explain this. One of the new features in 5.0 is the ability to manipulate experience in new and shiny ways. So we've turned on an experience point bonus for completing objectives. It's 12.5%. And we've turned on an experience point bonus for every key item check you do. That includes not just the K main checks, but also those summon checks that are in the pool and those monster boxes in the underground. So you can stack up to a maximum of 3 times your base experience. And if you pay attention when one of these runners completes a fight and the experience value pops up, you will see that the multiplier is listed there. Now, our runners are clicking through this as fast as possible, so don't blink, but you'll watch that get bigger and bigger, which means that all of these manipulations to get more experience become more and more valuable the deeper into the seed they get.
Yeah, no, you're going to see these runners characters just scale in experience and levels very, very quickly here as those multipliers stack. Speaking of scaling, Taylor Swifting's damage on that Magus Sisters fight is going to be scaled up quite a bit after getting a random rune axe in one of the chests. So that will help exploit that mage weakness of the Magus Sisters and make a annoying fight a little less annoying.
Yeah, Taylor Swifting's been very aggressive, done very few checks in the overworld, and has instead just gone straight down into the cave, into the upper Babel, and has been rewarded by the chests that he's taken with the gear to get it done. Just to be safe, you saw that Taylor lowered his battle speed there. So he's not taking anything to chance, going to make sure he has the time to set this up, grab that last chest, just in case it's something great, and we'll see who that first boss is going to be.
Yeah, this first fight here is deceptively difficult. It's where the King, Queen, and Evelyn usually are, which is just a free cutscene fight. But unfortunately, the developers of Final Fantasy IV gave this bot a lot of attack power and a lot of speed. So as you see there, that Kane getting one shot, and that was with the samurai armor and some good gear. So.
Yeah, this is a nasty fight. Already the Porm is down, the Kane's down and back up. The fire spell comes out. That's going to put Kane back down. The fire spell is going to chip away at the hit point values. A dart will take down one of the D-Lunars. This is going to be interesting. This is tough.
Yeah.
Wow.
The getting rid of one is going to help weather the storm as far as all those melee attacks. But you see the new script now that every time that D-Lunar takes a hit, it counters with fire attack. So that's fractional damage on each of these party members. So Sid stands alone. Sid's unfortunately not standing anymore.
Yeah, that's
a tough fight.
Tough fight, and the D-Lunars were very nasty in hitting exactly the right characters to give Taylor Swifting his first bounce of the seed. That gives Kryspyslick a little bit of time to catch up, is looting on his way through, so will likely maybe encounter that Staleman chest before hitting the Cane. Not doing a full loot though, so might skip it, not get that oh, no, I think we got it here. Yeah.
Does happen to find that on a relatively quick path or nearby path, I should say.
Yeah, that's handy, and that'll be a really nice pickup for Kryspyslick. Let's see how this goes with Taylor Swifting. We're throwing out those Cure 3s because the D-Lunars are undead. You might be able to tell by how come you can see all of their bones. And like in most Final Fantasy games, undead creatures take damage from curative spells. So that's a really nice throw. We see it again. And there goes down one. Shouldn't take much to drop it now. Much better fight from Taylor Swifting this time.
Yeah, that's a very good adjustment there. Knowing the various strategies that you can utilize on these bosses, and coming up with a new plan after the first one didn't work out, and very nice adjustments.
Yeah, tosses one of those leftover swords that he won't need. Down goes the last one. Taylor Swifting is through. Curious to see if he pops back to take a safety save here. I would be shocked if he did, but yep, here we go. Looks like he's going right at it.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't blame any runner for taking a safety save here, just because the Magus sister, the magic attack at this spot isn't too bad, so you're not going to run into the same risks as those fire 2s and viruses from Mindy being able to just wipe out a party member. But we are pretty low level, so they're still going to hurt, and this is a pretty fast spot and a lot of HP. So it'll be a matter of getting that damage going and hopefully getting rid of Mindy first.
Now, Taylor Swifting is choosing to berserk up the cane rather than target it on the appropriate Magus sister. So we'll be giving a little bit to chance here. One jump would do a bunch of damage. Oh, thank you, though, for taking out that Rydia. She really does need to sleep through this. She's just young.
Yeah. Always nice when the game decides, oh, that's who you want to keep down. Sure, I'll work with you on that.
Congratulations on absorbing a hit. Good job, Anchor. All right, folks, this is going to take a second, so just a very quick shout out. If you are having a great time watching, you want to hang out with us, you can head on over to our website, ff4fe.com. You can join the Discord. There's a link in the chat. If you're watching this back on YouTube VOD, there's a link down below. We'd love to have you come hang out with us. You don't even have to hang out. You can just roll up a seat and play. Have fun. It's a lot of fun. If you have any enjoyment for randomizers, you'll get a lot out of this one.
Yeah, no, there's obviously we're here in the middle of the Eidolon Express Grand Prix tournament here. But we also have various clubs that come out during the off season from our tournaments, where you can try different flag sets and different experiences within the game as Mindy goes down for Taylor Swifting there. Those clubs are a great way to learn the game, because they often give you different challenges that you wouldn't get from the presets or even the tournament flags. So definitely worth checking out if you do join the Discord.
Taylor Swifting gets through without too much difficulty once the rune axe and mute arrows started to tell. Similarly, Kryspyslick, no problem putting down those mad ogres using the mute knife or the mute arrows as well, and will pick up a coffin. But we have Pitfall at 24-22 for Taylor Swifting, which is a pretty darn good time.
Oh, it's an excellent time for getting into the other underground here. Part of that is because the runners decided to avoid good chunks of the overworld. Kryspyslick did one additional check on the overworld in that Fabul defense that Taylor Swifting did not do. Did find a little interesting. Neither runner went and did Mount Ordeals, which is a slow check to do because it's only one key item and 3 bosses. But we do have that defeat 20 bosses objective for the win game path of completing the giant. A lot of times you see runners go ahead and do that just so they can get that number of bosses scaling up. But obviously Taylor prioritizing getting to the underworld, getting to where the key items are, and kind of seeing, what is the easiest path here.
Yeah, I think there's a level of understanding there. See where the key items take you. If it sets everything up that you need to be successful, great. If you find a pass, great. If not, let's just be frank, Mount Ordeals is going to be a lot quicker to do once you're at level 45 compared to level 15. So do it when it's a little bit quicker to get through those boss fights. You're only dealing with 1 or 2 swings. Taylor's heading back up the tower. He is looking through all those chests for the 4 alert chests, each of which has a potential key item. So we'll have to keep an eye on that to see if he finds what he's looking for. A rat tail, a pink tail, that adamant rock, and of course, we're still looking for passes in the regular chests, magma key, which we can find now, and the ever desired darkness crystal.
Yeah, is going up here without the tower key, which oftentimes a lot of runners will put off lower Babel even with this incentive, because they want to do it all in one go. Won't be able to check the super cannon unless, of course, Taylor stumbles across the tower key in one of these 4 chests here, which happens rather often. And we see an interesting bit of tech on Kryspyslick's side, though. We have lunar frogs here. That's another strategy to get through this fight. If you get deep enough into the D-Lunar's script, they will use the breath attack on your party. Kryspyslick was able to get a Star Veil up on that edge and reflect both breaths back onto the D-Lunars. So they are susceptible to their own breath attack, and they are now harmless little frogs.
Yeah, I love lunar frogs. One of my favorite things in the game. It's so much fun. We've got a question in chat from Haley Honeywell. Is 5.0 just for runners? No. It's currently hosted at alpha.ff4fe.com. So you can pop over to that website to roll up a 5.0 seed right now. All the details are on our Discord if you're really interested in checking it out. And Robsat points out Keyless Tower has a really good density of checks, especially with no good sweeper. Those monster box in the Sylph Cave, you really want a great sweeper. The classic, of course, is Palom with Quake. To knock out some of those 6 monster chests, you don't have to worry too much about it if you have good agility manipulation. But without it, you can rock right up here, get your 4 checks, and Taylor, Roddy, I don't know if you saw, but Taylor saw at the top, the boss is Baron Guards. A boss that, even though we have 3 bosses off, with the amount of mage killing gear he's got, will not last long.
Yeah, no, that the Baron Guards being mages are susceptible. They'll still cast their status spells, though the magic attack at that spot is pretty darn low, so may not even be guaranteed to actually affect the party. So yeah, I think that's definitely worth going ahead and taking a chance for it.
Could be the officer soldiers as well, I think, but again, it's not a particularly challenging fight. You're not going to be stressing out over that. You might as well get the 5 checks in and maybe find something and steal some sirens on the way.
Yeah, I was sitting here wondering if Taylor was going to grab a few extra sirens. Did purchase sirens from the Eblin Cave shop, which will allow him to do a grind here in the underground by summoning eggs in specific locations and then defeating them to get a rather large amount of experience.
Yes, especially since each of these monster boxes are a key item check, so they are all worth an additional 5% experience as well, even if there's nothing there. So getting these 5 checks in, that's 25% more experience on those eggs if he chooses to do so right away.
Yeah, it's a bit of a consolation prize for the fact that the alert chests were surprisingly empty. 0 for 4. You don't see that too often with the unweighted flag set on the Miabs here, so that's a little disappointing. But fortunately, the lit arrows they found in Baron Inn made that a very quick fight, so it wasn't too much time, and did get some pretty good gear. I think I saw a defense sword for Kane and a white shirt for the Porum, so not bad gear at all.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world. We'll see what this top of tower check pays off with. If anything, it is the Baron Guard, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem to get through this. Throwing up a Star Veil on the Cid just to be safe, I think. Kryspyslick is through on his side. Has been leveling up that Rydia a little bit more. So I wouldn't be surprised if, and this was pointed out by Firebird Lover in chat, and of course our incredible restreamer, that makes Dwarf Castle really, really enjoyable. If you can get a Bahamut there or a Leviathan, that is your, there's a sweeper, there's something to really increase your power.
Yeah, the summons that she learns on when she returns to the party as an adult, have been randomized, so you can get that Leviathan orb, you can get that Odin summon, you can get that Bahamut summon, like you said, that can make her a very effective sweeper and make the sealed cave checks a lot easier. So, yeah, I agree with you and Firebird Lover that there's a very strong chance that that'll be Crispy's priority.
Now, if there's something of value here in the tower and Crispy chooses to skip it, that would catch Crispy right up as well. So We'll see in a moment what the choice is. That looks like Crispy is going to go scramble some eggs anyway.
Yeah, I did get a coffin from that Mad Ogre chest in the Tower of Babel along the hook route, so that'll be a great use for that to make this first egg a lot simpler to take out, because it's 1750 hit points, which is a little bit of an ask for this party right now. So being able to take it out nice and easy, definitely can appreciate that.
A lot of hit points on this guard, but Taylor Swifting is through. Rydia down, Porum shrunk, but that's basically the way you want this set up. Kryspyslick's going to grab a bunch of levels. It's a Mura. Ooh. I mean, that's nice, but... Oh, poor Taylor. You know, he's feeling that.
Yeah, that one definitely is gonna... That's got to sting a little bit. You know, again, has the experience boost, the experience modifiers, has another good edge weapon, has a good weapon for Kane, has some good defensive gear for Porum. But yeah, you were really hoping to walk away with a key item or two on this, because you know that's usually you walk away with at least something when you're doing the chest here in the flag set. So that's yeah, not great.
And
that also means sorry.
No, so 25% experience bonus and a Mura. Taylor decides it's worth walking out, but yeah, that's a lot of time. Yeah, and that if it were me, I'd definitely be getting really nervous about that Sylph Cave right now, because there's a strong chance that's just gonna have most of your answers.
Kryspyslick just found a pass.
Yeah, there are 2 passes on the underworld, and then one other pass can be either in the underworld or on the overworld. Getting that in hand open is gonna make that Zeromus fight option a good possibility.
Yeah, and since we don't know where exactly those passes are going to be, this might be the only one we see in the seed, and it's a little bit off the beaten path. We're not seeing a lot of people head on over to the treasury in Tomra and pick up the items there. So Kryspyslick might have an advantage that Taylor might not get. This just got a little bit more interesting.
It did. That's definitely a big help in getting making up some of the time for Kryspyslick. You know, sometimes you got to honor the old ways and the old memes, and going and checking out the job dwarf and finding out what the randomized job he has this week pays off for you.
I love the job dwarf. I am a big job dwarf fan. So I think, honestly, it should become an objective. Check the job dwarf. Just saying.
I guess the more unkind version of that is to go talk to the talking frog in Teroya. But you know, that's more my style.
Why not both? All right, well, that's going to have to wait for Free Enterprise 6.0. But for now, we've got Taylor Swifting scrambling a couple eggs, but Kryspyslick is doing what we had proposed after doing a tiny bit of looting, finding that lovely sweet pass, and is heading on over to Dwarf Castle. Going to check, Hourglass 2's handy if you're going to do a little bit more looting, or you're considering doing some more encounters, but says no thanks. I'm going to keep checking this out, get the free stuff anyway. But then I expect we will see Crispy take on the 2 bosses here.
Yeah, no doubt. That is one advantage of Crispy's looting in Castle Eblin. It did, obviously there was the unfortunate wipe that did eat a little bit of time and had to redo it, but walked away with more loot to sell. So we'll have, I think you saw has 10 sirens in hand, so we'll not need to take the time to steal any from Lower Babel, or can, as you proposed earlier, just can completely fade it if he sees fit. So we'll still be able to do that grind and get to levels to take on that giant or Zeromus.
Now, another thing that makes this really, really good for Kryspyslick is that because Crispy's been putting some levels on his Rydia, she's going to have Warp. And we have the Warp glitch enabled on this particular flag set. So this is 2 bosses, which is handy if you're going to go for that 20 boss victory potential, but also 2 item checks, because you can use the Warp glitch to check out what is hanging out in the sealed cave without having to fight the boss down there or even find the Luca key at all.
Yeah, that's about, that'll be fortunate. What's less fortunate is seeing this Ogopogo here in the first spot. This is this is not the fastest spot, but getting hit with that double big wave right as you start off with is not a good start, because you've got another fight right after this as well without any chance to heal up. So it's I think should be able to get through this, starting to reset, starting to get the party back up here, but yeah. Not what you want to see when you walk into Dwarf Castle.
Definitely a rough spot for the Canadian Danger Noodle. Not that there are good spots for Ogo, but this is one of the rougher ones, especially at the power levels that Crispy walked in at.
Champy would have never done this to the party.
All right, well, we are going to... Looks like Taylor Swifting is going to head on down into Sylph Cave and start hunting there. I think that's really interesting. Doing it, and maybe the Edge is going to be quick enough and powerful enough with Flame to do what he needs, but definitely going to be interesting. Boy, Kryspyslick gets through.
Yeah, Taylor hasn't done the looting. Hasn't done the shopping. I don't think Taylor hasn't checked. I think those Hourglass 2s were in Dwarf Castle. I think.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so Dwarf Castle. So, yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Oh, that. So, some things happened on Kryspyslick's side. Sorry, we'll get back to Taylor Swifting in a few seconds here. So, Edward joining the party when Rydia would have joined the party. Not necessarily the most exciting thing, because Edward has minimal HP, but we have the spoon. He got that from the Fabul defense that Taylor Swifting didn't do. That is a very powerful weapon when the spoon flag is on, because Edward can equip it, and it is a 255 attack power weapon. It is extremely strong. So our little glass cannon bard suddenly becomes a glass howitzer.
On top of that, Kryspyslick's Rydia got Bahamut in the 6 random summon drop for aging her up. So Rydia's online. You've got an Edward that once a few levels get on is going to do tons of damage. You've got Sid to be an anchor. You've got your White Mage. You've got Edge for physical. This party's really starting to work out for Kryspyslick.
Yeah, hasn't gotten a very good cane weapon. We know that there's a defense sword in one of the alert chests on Lower Babel. But Crispy was I think using a poison axe for that cane. So definitely Edward with the spoon is an upgrade. It's going to be a challenge to keep him upright, but it is an upgrade overall. As we see Taylor Swifting starting to take on these monster boxes, and you're seeing some of the challenges here. Edge's Blitz is a good AoE attack, but it's not great, and did have to take a little bit extra time getting through that fight, because only 2 of the ghosts went down to that one spell. So these fights are going to take a little bit of time. Should be doable. And there we go. Gets a good roll on that one. May have gotten another boost on wisdom there that got him through, and getting the pink tail. So that is one half of that is an objective in Taylor Swifting's hand.
Yeah, I mean that's a nice find for Taylor Swifting. The Baron key that Kryspyslick found in the sealed cave, it could be something that's really useful. We know that pink tail is going to help. We've got a really interesting story, just 2 completely different pieces here. I have to imagine Kryspyslick felt behind after bouncing off that chest earlier. I have to imagine Taylor Swift really feels behind now, taking one wipe in the Tower of Babel and then going up the Keyless Tower and completely not finding anything. So we've just got so much cool stuff going on. Kryspyslick didn't pop the siren in the right location. It's going to going to head on over and set that up again. Try to get that Edward the levels that he needs in order to go fully dominant mode.
Yeah, there's two locations where your siren will summon that yellow dragon egg. One is that peninsula that you just saw Kryspyslick go into. There's also a very narrow strip of land on the far left side of the map that you can land on and do it there. That's usually where I do it, just to make sure I'm in the right spot. We get an earth crystal from the Dark Tree Marlborough chest for Taylor Swifting. So 2 key items already here in Sylph Cave. Very good find so far.
Yeah, definitely Sylph Cave is setting up to have some of the goods. Obviously, that Earth Crystal going to give you access to the treasury, going to give you access to a key item check as well up in Zot. More characters if you're really interested. 2 bosses if you're thinking about going the boss route.
Yeah, I think by now these runners are probably pretty happy with their parties. We haven't seen anything we haven't really seen anything for Cecil. We've got a black mage, we've got a white mage, and with Kryspyslick doing his grind, I think he's pretty set in the party. Taylor Swifting, we'll see. Has been utilizing that Sid with an Artemis bow, which makes him a much more effective melee attacker than he normally would be. But if he does that check and sees an upgrade, he may just take that.
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, I don't think you're ever married to a Sid. Engaged. That was the joke I saw in the chat, so I'm shamelessly stealing it. Engaged to a Sid, certainly, but married, never.
I was thinking more the Facebook. It's complicated.
What do you think the in-universe free enterprise version of Facebook is?
Evil Mask Book.
There we go. Keeps telling me to match with Golbez. I have nothing in common with them, Cecil keeps saying. Looks like Kryspyslick's going to pop on down to the Feymarch, saving up beforehand because it's probably going to go looking for that Warrior's chest. Depending on where you find it, that Warrior's chest can be challenging because you might, if you're not careful, start it with everyone at 1 hit point. But I think has the arrangement needed. Something we forgot to point out earlier, but our amazing tracker Rex, he has been keeping track of the bosses defeated by each party member in the seed counters there. So Kryspyslick's taken down 9. That's the Dwarf Castle advantage. Taylor Swifting's only grabbed 7. So if they do decide that's the way they have to win, going through the 20 bosses and the giant, Kryspyslick's got a little bit of a leg up there. But as we haven't found a darkness crystal yet, doesn't quite seem to be on the on the table yet for our runners.
Yeah, Taylor Swifting has done more checks for key items because of the Lower Babel check in the top of tower, or the Lower Babel monster box in the top of tower, but actually has just doing a quick count here, has less key items than Kryspyslick does, just because Kryspyslick found that random pass in the Job Dwarf's hut, and the fact that the Baron key was in the sealed cave. So, just some very unfortunate luck as far as the item placement for Taylor Swifting, but there is the Darkness Crystal, so does have that in hand.
That is excellent news for Taylor Swifting. That means that the route through bosses is now completely on the table, which I don't know if that's what he's going to choose. If he doesn't find a pass soon, you'd think that becomes something that he wants to go after.
I would say right now, since you don't have the magma key in hand, he doesn't have a pass in hand either. I would say he's probably going to be sitting there thinking about what bosses are left. We know neither of these runners have done Ordeals, which has 3 bosses. Mount Ordeals, which has 3 bosses. They haven't done the Mist Cave or the Waterfall, which will be another 2 quick boss fights. So that's 5 right there. That'll bring Taylor up to 12 and Crispy up to 14 if they go that route. It's just gonna be a matter of, they're gonna have one from fighting either the King or Queen of Feymarch, and in here, down here in the Feymarch where Kryspyslick is. And then there's the 2 and the giant that they have to fight, which do count to that total. So, just gonna need to probably be rushing those bosses potentially, I think.
Yeah, getting to 20 bosses, I think, is a little bit less challenging than people think. It looks like it is a very tall mountain at the start of the game, but I mean, realistically, there's the Luca key for Taylor Swifting, so he could find the Baron key now. But Kryspyslick's going to go check out the basement in the Feymarch here. We will see who are the king and who are the queen today. Oh boy, that's a nasty power couple.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I agree with Kryspyslick here. Check and see what the queen is, because I think that's likely going to be your. Okay, well, it's not necessarily going to be an easier fight, but it had the possibility of being an easier fight. This is going to be a very fast Wyvern.
Very fast, very quick to get to those reflected nukes. Crispy has a heroine robe on the Rydia. Put it on while exploring the Feymarch cave, so the virus, I think, did a little bit less damage than he was expecting. Here comes the first reflected nuke. It's going to hit the Eddie, and
big damage.
I don't think Edward can survive 7,700 damage, even at level 99, so I think this is going to be maybe a bridge too far for Kryspyslick at this point.
It is doable. It'll take a little bit of a different set. It'll take a little bit different approach. Electing not to do that, which I do appreciate. Could take advantage of the Wyvern's extremely high magic attack and put up a star veil. It's not going to do anything about the big wave that the Wyvern opened up with the attack, but can then use Rydia to hit Wyvern with any summons. And then the Wyvern's counter script is to respond with a Mega Flare. So could use that to try and, if he's got if he's got any Star Veils in his inventory, could get a couple people up with that and just let the Wyvern do most of the work.
Yeah, I think there's 2 Star Veils in Kryspyslick's inventory.
Yeah,
so going to head down to the Feymarch now and get the same challenge. Take on that we know is set up for RA1 action and won't have any problem getting through this warrior chest here.
Yeah, unfortunately, Orm learned float, so just a matter of getting the party above those damage tiles, so won't have to worry about coming in extremely weak and healing up beforehand. So should be in pretty good shape here.
Yeah, Crispy's going to head down to the Sylph Cave and is going to pick up his Earth Crystal, Darkness Crystal, and Pink Tail. So these runners should be at a level of parity fairly quickly. However, we will see if Taylor Swifton decides to take on either that Evil Wall or the Wyvern, and if it is able to get through it successfully. That would be an important leg up, depending, of course, on what key item, if any, they are hiding.
Yes, K-Summon is on in this flag set as well, so those bosses can have another key item as well. I'll be curious. Right now I don't see that that Evil Wall being on the table for especially not for Taylor Swifting right now. That's just going to be a very, very difficult spot. Very difficult boss at that spot. Might be able to take that Wyvern, but again, probably wishes he had this. Probably wishes he had the Smoon that's in Fabul Defense, because that would be a good dart to use for him on that Wyvern.
Absolutely. I think you could probably do Eddie strats on the wall if you really wanted to, but no one's got time for that. The timer is ticking here, folks. We got things to do.
If I had I admit that I enjoy using Eddie strats on Evil Wall and will rely on it more than I should. But I don't think that that either of these runners have found a ribbon. And you really do want that ribbon on Edward, because I don't believe the Evil Wall is going to do enough damage to itself to actually defeat itself. For those that aren't familiar, if there are no characters to target, none of your characters to target, Evil Wall will attack itself. So if Edward hides or Kane jumps and is off the screen, Evil Wall will go ahead and just start doing damage to himself. But, there's a lot of hit points at that King of Feymarch spot. I don't know if if it's going to do enough damage to itself to do enough job before it gets to that crush phase, and Edward is then susceptible to getting bonked by that. So yeah, we see Kryspyslick coming down here, retracing Taylor Swifting's steps down here in the Sylph Cave, collecting that pink tail. So we'll have that objective in hand as well, and then we'll likely also go ahead and do the path to the Sylph's house, so they can set up Yang and should get his Darkness Crystal on the way there.
Right, you are. My finger ended up on the wrong button, so I was pushing.
Okay, I was like, okay, no worries. I was just like, I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, I have no idea how much I said that you didn't hear, but no, it was on the wrong button. Sorry about that.
No worries. Just glad it's okay.
Oh yeah, no, we're good. No tornadoes here tonight yet. Oh yeah, wow. Taylor Swifting is loading up that edge. Got the legendary swords, got the strength ring, got pretty much everything you want. Well, not everything, but close. And is gonna get that bad news. It is a Wyvern.
Yeah, fortunately, this spot doesn't have the highest hit point total. So if you can get that edge zerked, you might be able to push through here.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Here comes the Berserk, right on the edge. We'll see if the damage can come out fast enough. Ooh, 3,700. That's a good swing.
Yeah. So really wishing that Kane had found a Dragoon Spear or some Artemis arrows in any of those chests, because that would go a long way in making this a little bit easier. Similarly to the how we saw the mute weaponry taking care of the mages, the Magus sisters.
We all love a little bit of dragon hunting gear when a dragon shows up. That much is for sure. Oh, Sid throwing out a little bit of damage too. Jeez.
Yeah, should be okay now. Yep, there we go. Has the levels, has the gear to take care of this that Kryspyslick didn't quite have yet. I don't know how many sirens that Taylor Swifting did, but definitely I think all of his characters are pretty much end game levels. So,
yeah. And did those sirens after completing the Sylph Cave, so had quite a few extra. The experience bonus was a little bit higher than Crispy's was when Crispy did their first grind. Taylor Swifting is not going to bother with the king. Says, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to pop on over to the above ground, and I would think is probably going to turn in that pink tail, and then likely do some above ground checks, or maybe even head to the moon. Why not the moon?
Well, like you said, there's only one key item check there. There's a lot of enemies to fight. There's a lot of bosses to fight, but they are a little bit more challenging than some of the other options. So, certainly is an option. It would be a lot of fun to watch, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the option he takes.
I wonder if Taylor Swifting is thinking about it, if only because, if he's thinking about doing the giant at this point, you're gonna have to raise the whale anyway. Do you head up for that last check to see if maybe that's got it? Get a boss on the way? I don't know. We'll see.
I could see doing Cave Bahamut for that reason, just because it's relatively quick to get to, and you do get a key item. I think that'd be more likely if he had the pass in hand, because then it would just be a matter of, okay, get that and go.
Absolutely.
Go fight Z.
So Taylor Swifting spends the time and money to pick up a cursed ring. Will have all the agility manipulation he needs to be at RA1. Should he get as the fights get more difficult, and it's going to go turn that pink tail, so we'll see what that means or what that holds.
Yeah, gonna be a little. He has done I think he's kept that Rydia down the entire time through the entire grind, so not gonna be as much of a help as it would be for Kryspyslick, because Crispy doesn't have a character that has been downed to avoid getting experience and stay as low level as possible. But it is nice to have in the back pocket.
Taylor Swift's going to head to do the full defense. We'll get the spoon there. Has probably set up Sheila 1. We haven't seen what that will be, but Kryspyslick just set that up, and I would think it's coming out of the underground very, very shortly.
Yeah, it's gonna depend if Crispy decides to do that lower Babel while they're there, or put that off. But we know that would be overall advantageous because of the absolute nothingness in there. But yeah, we'll see. That's gonna be a very interesting decision point.
Interesting and important decision for Crispy that he's got to make. Doesn't have the knowledge we have, of course. Taylor Swift's going to go take on the boss that was here, and I sure do forget what it was, but it shouldn't be a problem. Oh, it's a Mylons.
Yeah. You were saying not a problem.
Yeah, not too much of a challenge.
Not a problem.
Kryspyslick looks to have finished up in the Sylph Cave, is taking the exit out.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like you. I'm gonna be very interested to see what happens here.
And is heading out. Ooh.
That could be very good. Obviously may go back and do some of those checks on the way up if he finds the tower key and can do the super cannon fight. But yeah, no, that's a lot of time saved for Crispy.
Yeah, it means that Crispy is behind about 2 minutes getting out of the underground, 2 to 3 minutes, but is up a Baron key. And given that the adamant rock is required, it is still out there. That could be the difference, because that's not just one key item check, that's 2. Because the Baron Basement Summon is in the pool.
Yeah, and we just saw we didn't see the adamant rock at Sheila 1, but we did see the magma keys. So that is Crispy's probably on his way there to get that. We'll just need that adamant rock, and 1, 2, 3, 4 is at 10 key items, I think, right now. So just needs 2 more key items to get to go fight Zeromus.
Now, here's the interesting piece here for Taylor Swifting. Taylor Swifting is going to go do the Dwarf Castle. We'll get those 2 more bosses. I have to think that is the decision. Obviously, hoping to hit a pass somewhere, hoping to hit the Adamant Rock here, but will not be able to do the warp, the warp glitch. And that might be pivotal. That might be the extra minutes that Kryspyslick needs, especially if Kryspyslick does decide to check Baron and it pays out. So Crispy's about to go get their magma key. Taylor's going to get through that Ogo. Shouldn't have as much problem with it as Crispy did due to the power levels. Oh, did Rydia get up? I missed that. I thought she was still down at 30 hit points. Very good. Then Taylor is ready to rock.
Yeah, looks like she stayed up during the Fabul defense, so was able to get that experience thanks to all the experience multipliers as you explained earlier. Yeah, 295. She should be in warp territory already. Yeah,
that should be everything. And down she'll go again. Any agility that was gained by leveling up a little bit will be taken out by that cursed ring. So very good heads-up play by Taylor Swifting. Excellent agility manipulation. Something to talk about later, I think. Yeah, and Crispy is going to go check the tower. So that is going to be a few minutes that Crispy won't be able to get back, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is a reasonable decision. Without, again, we have perfect knowledge having seen it already, but it is the densest check available. There's four monster boxes that all have an equal chance of getting a key item. There is the top of tower as well. So it makes very good sense to do this because this is where the bulk of the items are. It would be a pretty big gamble. It would be a pretty good gamble to forego all of these. But I do understand. You're looking for that adamant rock. This is the highest probability chance of finding it, so it does make sense.
Yeah, there's something to be said, I think, for chasing your key items, especially if you've spent the time in Dwarf Castle to get one that is a little bit out of the way. But I get it. You're completely right. Sometimes you got to follow the math, and this is where the math says to go. We know, you and I know, it's not the right call. But Crispy's got to go check it out for himself. And we will see what Taylor does once he finishes up here in Dwarf Castle, and then picks up his Baron Key.
Yeah, there is some discussion in chat with some of our veteran runners, such as John Burkhead, talking about Taylor got Rydia enough experience to get to warp through the Fool Defense, then has brought her back, has gone back to keeping her down for the rest of these fights here. That is going to go a long way in making sure that she doesn't have spells in her menu, meaning that warp is easier to get to. Also saves time as far as every level up where she learns more and more spells and takes time up in there. So it's a minor efficiency, but it's one of those ones that does add up over time.
Yeah, minor efficiencies are the way that you stack up seconds, and seconds turn into minutes. So yeah, going forward, we don't know whatever Taylor Swifting does next. It'll be brand new even to us, so very curious to see what comes up next. Kryspyslick working up that tower as quickly as humanly possible. And given the amount of choices that we have in front of us, there's the Darkness Crystal, the Earth Crystal, there's Baron Key, there's the Harp. There's still a lot of choice here, so even with the minutes that Crispy's going to be behind coming out, still quite the possibility of finding the right thing first.
Yeah, this is an adamant hunt. It can be pretty much any of our available checks here. We do have that Twin Harp that's been sitting there burning a hole in these runners' pockets. We've got the Darkness Crystal in that Cape Bahamut fight. We've got the Earth Crystal with one check. That's kind of the downside, is that they're generally all fairly long, and in Cape Bahamut's case, an arduous check. So I do kind of like Taylor Swifting here, going to Baron. The Liberate Baron Castles and the Bygone Spot here are pretty easy fights, and does have the option to go ahead and take that Baron Basement as well and do the summon check down there.
Yeah, I would think is going to. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see Taylor Swifting head to the summon check first. He's got the power to take it out, and it is a little bit quicker. So if it is the Adamant, well, there you go. You've got what you need to finish up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think that would actually be... I know it needs 2 key items, so pretty close, but not quite there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him do it anyway, because, why not? Kryspyslick's going to get to the top of the tower, take on those Baron Guards. It should be a little bit quicker of a fight for him than it was for Taylor. But, again, we'll be coming out a little bit behind. And I think the Baron check is the one that... It's the densest check, and that seems to be the way Crispy's been playing. But there's also that kind of potential, that desire to line up the perfect check. The Harp and the Zot and the Baron. There's also the possibility that the Adamant Rock is hanging out behind the Evil Wall, which our tracker Rexol has suggested in chat might be happening. So if it does happen, Taylor and Kryspyslick, and you're watching this back, blame Rex. It's his fault.
Yeah, no, we had nothing to do with that.
Absolutely.
So Taylor is going to do the Baron Liberation after I know I personally failed. The hardest thing in a free enterprise seed is remembering the boss that gave you the starting key item. But that was making quick work of the Odin that was there. And finding the officer soldier here at the throne. The coup of Baron is going to be taken care of very quickly.
There shouldn't be any challenges boss-wise at this stage for these runners. They have not quite power overwhelming, but certainly they are not hurting for power in any way.
Yeah, eventually even that evil wall at the King of Feymarch spot is, it's still going to be punchy, it's still going to hurt, but you're going to have the HP to weather the storm as well as be able to do the damage to fight your way through it. And yeah, bye Cecil. Sorry, this is not a flood. This is not the time for you to join the party.
There is, of course, the possibility Cecil might be hinting at adding out on our deals available this whole time and simply unchecked.
That is certainly a possibility. Yeah, though that's another thing that's kind of been sitting there, and I'm wondering if that may have put that in the back of Taylor Swifting's mind, because it's 3 bosses, but like you said earlier, they're a lot easier than they were at level 15. Though that pan from the Baron Liberation,
I mean, we'll see if Taylor goes back in to do the Baron key here, or to do the Baron basement. Crispy is going to go do Baron as well, it looks like. And again, it's about 3-4 minutes back. No, quite close to 5 at this point. We'll see if chasing this is the answer, or if it's the pan. I think you do this now. I think this makes sense for Taylor. The pan is pretty long in terms of time. If you get the adamant rock here, you've got your 12 key items. Then all you need is a pass. Maybe you find that in the chests. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. This is the ideal time to do it. You're here. The pan, it is worth 2 key items, because you'll get one from the sylphs as far as a summon check, and then you'll get one from the second Sheila turn in. But yeah, it's a lot of travel time in between to get those. So I think it makes a lot of sense to stay here and just get this check taken care of. Keinatsu, not the worst spot you can find Keinatsu. That element spot up on the Giant of Babel is worse, but there's a large amount of hit points here, so that wave attack's going to do some solid numbers here.
Usually, wrong throne, Keinatsu. You're supposed to be upstairs, not downstairs.
Guy goes to stretch his legs and go have a beverage in his rumpus room in the basement, and gets yelled at and barged in on.
Is that his elements cave in the basement? Is that what that is?
Fiend cave, yes.
Yeah, the fiend cave. He got his crystal ball so he can call up his buddies, and posters of evil doings on the wall.
Yeah, and do what most evil beings do and watch the Yankees. Just kidding.
I assume that's funny. Sorry. I don't follow the sport of baseball very much, except for if the Jays are doing okay in the playoffs.
Just a crystal ring from that Keinatsu. So not a bad piece of gear, but not the answer we're looking for here. So high five between the runners.
Yeah, Crispy's gonna head down to the basement first. Like I said, it's a little bit quicker, so if you get what you want, maybe you dip on out. But Taylor Swifting has completed it, picked up the crystal. I would think is going to chase that pan next.
Yeah, I think so. It's like I said, it's the densest key items. Plus, going to do that series of checks, you're going to be walking through the damage tiles in the Sylph Cave. That's going to weaken the party and make it a lot easier to pop on over across the ocean to Toroya and set up the Twin Harp check. Because I think that's likely going to be the next. That's going to be likely the next path that Taylor will take, because that's just going to be where he ends up as far as his routing, and it is 2 checks relatively close to each other. So I think that's a good possibility there.
Yeah, and a big difference here between Crispy and Taylor coming to this check is Crispy is at 11 key items, where Taylor was at 10, is now at 11. So if this is exactly the adamant, Crispy is go mode. Taylor over here is going to hit an unconscious man with a heavy cast iron pan. Folks, don't try this at home. Gets a sand ruby. That's 12 key items. Not the key item you wanted to see. Let's put it that way.
Meanwhile, Kryspyslick answering the question of what happens to a turtle when you put it in the microwave. Same thing as everything else.
I mean, not to put anything in your microwave, Roddy. I don't know how you know this. And Taylor is starting the boss hunt. I think that is... we're tapping out on the adamant... or we got to find the adamant rock. We're tapping out on finding a pass, though. Oh, no.
That was a quick reset. Was that a Golbez? Was that a Golbez chat?
No, I think that is a demist search. We haven't talked about demist at all this whole stream. Roddy.
We are remiss. We barely talked about agility. We haven't talked about demist. We're slacking as commentators. The free item, the item that Edward normally give you in the hospital bed in Troya, he's not going to give you anything in this flag set. You have to find the Mist Dragon and defeat that, and then go check in with Rydia's mom, and she will give you a key item.
And that Demus could be anywhere that you see a boss. That Demus could be on the moon. That Demus could be on the giant. And if that Demus is, or if Rydia's mom is holding an adamant rock, that could be a very interesting situation indeed. But we'll see what Sheila's holding. It's a ninja sword.
Ooh.
Taylor Switching says, no thanks, I have better at home.
Yeah, dropped a save outside of Troya, so is going to be able to go and give the people what they've been asking for. And that is going to be a music check here shortly.
Talk to the job dwarf, ready to get some music. It is a good seed. I also just want to point out, once again, Rexol has decided to curse our runners. He has now suggested demist at Kaipoin, which means finding the package. So if the package is hiding behind that evil wall, and then the demist has the adamant and it's hanging out at the Kaipo Inn, once again, this is Rex's fault. Taylor and Crispy, if you're watching this back and that's what happened, this is all Rex.
Yeah, no. We are blameless holy creatures in this.
The adamant hunt continues. We should set this up like you ever watch Curse for Oak Island or Curse of Oak Island on my parents are addicted to that show, and that's what this is right now. It's the Curse of the Adamant, and we are watching these runners hunt, dig, excavate, get deeper until they find what they're looking for.
Yeah, and it also means that we are setting up here for a fight here with extremely high magic defense. Doesn't matter since it's pretty much a melee party, but it also means that gonna go sit through a little cutscene here. Unfortunately, doesn't have anything to magnetize Sid or Porum, so we'll have to... Oh, that's nice. Using the kamikaze to get through the cutscene faster. Very nicely done there by Taylor Swifting, remembering that very important item of just ending the cutscene. And now we get the cutscene we all really want, and that is the dramatic rise of DJ Spoonie B from his hospital bed as he eventually makes his way to his harp to play one of the hundreds of randomized harp songs we have here in Free Enterprise, created by our community. Here you go. Right, and yeah, Golbez showing how much of an evil villain he is. Turning off the harp music.
Well, the good news is it's going to be back in a moment. So
Deserving every bit of the large amount of damage this very powerful party is doing as they quickly dispatch him. We should have time before Kryspyslick starts up the cutscene here, and to see what the key item here is on the altar here, and it is
not a key
silver
item at
apple.
all. Oh my!
Not the piece of metal we're looking for.
Oh. So Kryspyslick following very, very quickly in Taylor Swifting steps, not too far behind, and is executing very well here. But we'll get the same disappointing news in a moment, but we will enjoy our reprise of that very incredible high-speed frenetic tune. One more moment. All right.
All right, that will do it. That will do it for our harp music. As again, Golbez changing the channel on the runners. Taylor Swift making very quick work of the Wyvern at the Magus sisters spot. Rescues the Palom. Lightly scolds the young for betraying the party, and we'll probably tell them to go and have a nice evening. You've got the night off.
Yeah, we shouldn't see any challenges with the second boss here. Kryspyslick gets his silver apple. Yeah. And is not resetting out. Okay.
I would be inclined to keep that on for because 50 hit points on Edward sometimes makes a lot of difference. So, it's not the worst thing to keep.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a few seconds, I suppose. No one's ever lost a race by a few seconds, right?
No, not 9 seconds at all. Ever once, never.
I didn't know, but now I feel
No,
bad.
you're fine. You're fine. No, it's one of those things where the seconds do matter. Sometimes it provides the safety you need to survive a big bang or an attack. Other times it's just a waste of time. So it's a
every choice, one of the things I love about Free Enterprise is that every choice, big and small, it can mean something. Watching two runners make those decisions. So a lot of fun.
Speaking of choices, that big or small, as we get a tower key for Taylor Swifting here, at the top of at the Tower of Zot, uh, by resetting out of Cave Magnus, doesn't get credit for that boss. So
Has
did lose
gotten
out on a boss on all the time taken to defeat that Golbez, will not get credit for that, whereas Kryspyslick does get the credit for defeating that boss.
Absolutely. Now Taylor Swifting has that tower key and is going to go chase it. And I mean, oh, you're looking at that and you're like, ew. Boy, feels like you're going deep. I think Taylor's going up that tower at least halfway again. We'll see what Crispy does when he gets that decision point.
I'm not gonna lie, I would probably have been tempted to do ordeals, just because that way I know I get my bosses taken care of, and if it's there the whole time, if the seed isn't over by now, I'm pretty sure my opponent hasn't done it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to find that adamant rock no matter what. It's an evil wall. This won't be a slightly less challenging evil wall than the one in the Feymarch basement.
It's like the it's like the leg grill. You look at the evil wall in the King of Feymarch spot, and then you go, then you just go, why didn't mine turn out like that?
Could have been a little bit nicer, but hey, that's rando, right? Kryspyslick gets through that Wyvern, no problem. Gonna get through the Ogo up here in a few moments. Meanwhile, Taylor Swifting is destroying expensive military hardware, or allowing it to be destroyed, I guess I should say. And yeah, we'll see. This is really just turning into the race for the Adamant Rock.
Yeah, we talked about some, so what we have left is we'll see what Taylor Swifting has here. The kindest option would be for that Adamant Rock to be right here, the reward for destroying the super cannon. That would be very nice. Both these runners will be relatively happy to have that. Doesn't necessarily help Kryspyslick because he's kind of running behind in Taylor Swifting's path here. But if it's not here, we have the Evil Wall at the King of Feymarch spot, which is very difficult. We have Mount Ordeals. We have the Cave Bahamut check. And then, it's that D-Mist, which could be, it could be on the Giant. It could be behind the package that Taylor Swifting just got.
Oh, Rex.
It could. There's actually meaner places for it than there. It could be at the Masamune altar, or it could be any of those lunar altars that have no other benefit to this party other than hunting for a D-Mist. So, yeah.
So Taylor Swifting goes to Tomra. We know there's a pass there, but is not the hero of the people, does not talk to the Job Dwarf and loot his chests, will not get that pass. We still haven't seen any of the other ones.
Yeah, which is pretty surprising because they were very thorough on that underground. I think the only places they didn't check for loot were Cole's shop yet, and also that little cluster of chests in the pathway between the underneath Dwarf Castle, which are both pretty out of the way checks. So we haven't done Sealed Cave. Yes, thank you. Our restreamer reminded me of Sealed Cave. So, yeah.
Did you see Taylor Swifting visibly vacillate between Ordeals and the Moon? Do I go to Ordeals? Back to Mysidia? Oh, no, we're doing Ordeals.
I think it makes sense.
This is going to be pretty quick. Crispy is going to head down and almost certainly try to do at least the Queen in the Feymarch. We'll see if Crispy tries that evil wall. And if that does have the goods. This is a different choice than we've seen. They've been running each other's, in a straight line for a little while. So seeing a little bit of differentiation here, I think is very enjoyable.
Yeah, Kryspyslick was down here earlier in the seed. For those joining us a little late, decided not to fight the wyvern, take another stab at the wyvern at the queen spot, and definitely was not in a position where that evil wall at the king spot was going to be doable at that time. But the runners did pick up moon veils. Both runners did grab a moon veil at one point, so that is going to make that evil wall a lot easier. Because that basically will allow them to just ignore the melee attacks and focus on doing damage.
And it looks like Crispy has said, I am doing the evil wall, which,
Yeah.
first, we know there's no good reward hiding up behind the Wyvern. This could be a really important decision.
Yeah, unfortunately going to lose that Cure 3 as Rydia gets bopped, but trying to get that party blinked up.
Yeah, that Sig can tank damage all day, but we need the blinks elsewhere. It was so fast, it was a reset. I didn't see what it was.
Yeah, I missed it too. I think that edge just got bopped before getting the moon veil up.
The cursed Cure 3 for Taylor Swifting on the top of the horrible mountain. Absolutely not. He's done. I'm walking this out. Goodbye. We'll keep the bosses, which will make a difference if he ever finds the Adamant Rock. But he's not going to find it there, so I would not be surprised to see, yep, the moon. We are heading to the moon.
Yes, this is going to be a absolute last location of this evil wall for Taylor Swifting. So if it is here, that's very, very bad for Taylor Swifting. Will likely at least do Cave Bahamut, likely do the Giant, and then also probably face check all the bosses in the Lunar Subterrane to make sure to look for the D-Mist, if hoping that that's the answer. So we'll see which path is the right path here.
Yeah, Kryspyslick has not yet seemed to have noticed there's a moon veil.
No, it's on Rydia right now.
It's on Rydia?
Just
okay,
put it
it's
on.
unused. Great. That will be helpful. Rydia will be throwing out Bahamuts like there is no tomorrow. Meanwhile, Taylor Swifting is going to the moon. I might, if I think this is a, obviously you check Cave Bahamut first, or I guess you check the shop, the Hummingway shop first, but you do Cave Bahamut first, but then I would think, and call me out if I'm crazy, Roddy, but I would think it makes a lot of sense to do Giant. You haven't found the pass, get those extra 2 bosses in, see if any of them are the D-Mist, and then Giant's done. Your bosses are almost done. You're just looking for that last thing.
I think that's a very reasonable play. You've got the levels to the Giant. You're certainly strong enough to do it. As unfortunately, Kryspyslick didn't get enough damage off in that evil wall to get through. Yeah, that's 35,000 hit points. That's a lot to chew through, and unfortunately couldn't get enough that time. I think there's a lot of point for that. There's a lot of merit to what you suggested. You know, you're looking for D-Mist. You take 2 D-Mists off. You get 2 boss spots. I think that's a very reasonable path to take.
Yeah, we'll see what Taylor Swift decides. Kryspyslick has made a decision. The decision is that evil wall. Absolutely not. We're going to do the Wyvern instead. A little bit more damage now than the last time Kryspyslick took it on, so we'll see if he can get through it this time. Taylor Swifting is heading into Cave Bahamut. Hoping for something I think that's nice and quick, and a handy-dandy Rock of Adamant on the moon.
Yeah, I think there's been some discussion as to whether or not I think you mentioned in the chat that you don't think that Sid's got that curse string on, which means that this bot is not being slowed down as much as it could be. The other thing is, I know it was mentioned that Edward's damage is very low for what you would expect for him to have with a spoon at this point, even without the... gotta get a Star Veil up on those, unfortunately, as you see that damage there. The summons are great because you do get that extra attack, and yeah, unfortunately, gotta come back here again. Sorry. But yeah, no, Edward's not back road, so not doing near as much damage as he could be doing as well.
Yeah, great point. Crispy has decided I need more levels. I've got sirens in my inventory. It's time to use them. Let's get a little bit more power. Meanwhile, Bahamut is about to release his Mega Nuke, but there are 3 walls up. Sorry, Sid. Sid will take a nap, but everyone else is ready to continue thumping on Bahamut for Taylor Swifting.
Yeah, Bahamut's is a dangerous fight because of the Mega Flare, but is obviously a little bit kinder about it since he does the countdown every time. So you have more time to get set up and set the party set up and in position. But
I appreciate a quality countdown. It's nice to know.
It is. It's very sporting of Bahamut.
Now, if you're not careful, your Star Veils can run out. I think that won't be a problem here for Taylor Swifting, as he has thrown up another one, but you do have to be a little bit cautious.
Yeah, that's never a good feeling when you when the wall drops and you're just like, oh. Yeah, you see there the wall dropped off on the cane in the edge, but at least Porum stands up, gets the experience, which, yeah, enough to get her white, so that's the end of her. That's close to the end of her spell list, I believe.
So that rat tail for Taylor Swifting means almost certainly Taylor's going to head back to Earth to check it, because it could be anything on the other side of it. It could even be an adamant rock.
Yeah, no, 100%. You chase this.
There's only one key item left for Taylor Swifting to find in key item check locations. The pass, of course, we have C pass on, or P chest, something like that. Yeah, P chests. So that means there are 3 passes distributed around the underworld, and I believe one could be on the overworld. But Taylor hasn't found any. Crispy has found one, which is with the Job Dwarf treasury in Tomra. So certainly needs that adamant. We'll find out here in a moment. But oh, what's Crispy doing? Not trying the Fame Arch again.
Yeah, I don't. Might be going to buy that cursed ring.
The gold apple. All of that work on the moon for a gold apple. Hoi. Taylor Swifting, I bet, is shaking his head a little bit right now. What's left for Taylor Swifting? It is either a boss hunt or it is that evil wall. Looks like he's going to go check on that evil wall. And Crispy, yeah, like you said, looks like he's heading to do a little bit of shopping.
Yeah, our restreamer Firebird Lover corrected me a little bit. Didn't check that shop, so very, very fortunately is going to find it here. Lucking out.
Exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, making good use of the knowledge of the tiers in Free Enterprise's item pool. All of the items are assigned into a tier based on their overall overall usefulness. And I believe the cursed ring is a tier 5 item, which can appear in gated armor can appear in gated armor shops in this flag set. So, good job taking advantage of that.
That's right. So, Taylor Swifting does need to get through, or is going to try the evil wall. Kryspyslick needs to get through one of these bosses. We'll see which one he chooses. It's going to be a little bit behind getting into the fight. If this is the adamant rock hiding here behind the evil wall, that gives Taylor Swifting a little bit of an advantage. Except Taylor has to do the giant. If Kryspyslick, if it is here, Kryspyslick finds it, Kryspyslick can drop the magma key can unlock the pass door and then proceed immediately to Zeromus. So even though it might get out a little bit later, again, assuming good execution, good victory, it's still a race. It's still a race to completion. And yeah, there's so much going on. This one is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to depend a lot on if it does. If we do have that foot race here, it's going to depend on what is on that giant, how difficult it is. The first spot, the element spot, has 65,000 hit points to chew through, which there's a lot of offense, a lot of melee offense on Taylor Swifting's party, so should be able to tackle that fairly well. But then has the CPU spot immediately afterwards to do so, which is very fast, very punchy.
Crispy didn't equip the ring. Lowered battle speed, but didn't equip the ring.
That's unfortunate. Hopefully has the offense here to take the fight, take out the wall anyway here, because that's not. That's frustrating. It's easy to do.
Nuke now, so that's going to be a little bit faster than those Bahamut's who was trying before. But still, this is going to be tough. Edward throwing out a little bit more damage as well. Edge can at least soak a hit or two. This is almost like a boss fight the way that Crispy, like a end boss fight the way Crispy's playing it, using Sid with those potions. Taylor Swifting has the Star Veil or the Moon Veil up on the edge, and it has him going full bore.
Yeah, this is a much more stable fight. We've alluded to it. We haven't gone into much detail. We talk about agility anchoring. If you can set your party, if you can set your in free enterprise, your center character is the character by which that the enemy's agility is. The enemy's agility is affected by the agility of your center character. Usually it's Cecil in the vanilla game, but in free enterprise the default is the center character in slot 1. If you have a slow anchor and you have characters that are 2 times faster than that character, you're in a relative agility status, relative agility 1, which means that your party will act in a set order every time and is also going to slow down the boss, so they act after your party.
And there it is. There's the Adamant Rock.
Oh!
Crispy goes in and checks Sid 3 times before realizing he's missing the cursed ring, equips it, does a little bit of other equipping, saves up. But Taylor Swifting has the Adamant Rock. The timer is on. Taylor Swifting's got to go do the forge and then has to start that giant. If Crispy can get through this quickly, has a little bit of extra admin to do, but then will be able to go right to Zeromus. Folks, it's a race.
Yeah, and unfortunately Crispy's going to go fight that Wyvern because it's probably the easier fight at this point still, so that's not good news. He's going to miss it on that adamant unless he goes and fights the evil wall immediately afterwards. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I totally get it. Crispy, Sasuke for the edge. That'll be handy dandy on the giant. Oh, and in case you didn't have a Mura already, here's a Mura.
And there's a ribbon that'll be real handy for doing Edward strats on the evil wall.
That is the way that it be sometimes.
Yeah, the game loves to give you the tools you need to do some silly stuff after you've already had to do it the hard way, but hey, it could come into play on the giant. You never know.
It's not a bad idea to have when Crispy's through the Wyvern. We see Taylor doing a little bit of equipping, getting some power shirts. Gonna have what he needs. Crispy gets his second Artemis. We'll see if he decides to tackle the evil wall or do a different strategy here. Crispy still has that Ordeals check available, has faded the super cannon, and is exiting out. We know that is not success, unfortunately, and that puts Taylor firmly in the driver's seat.
Yeah, unfortunately for Kryspyslick, that evil wall was just a the party just didn't have enough firepower to get through that evil wall without that Sid being that proper agility anchoring. Taylor Swifting having that cursed ring earlier and also making sure to keep that Rydia lower agility was able to just make that fight a little bit more manageable and a little bit slower to make it safer. So you see just how much that you can see why that cursed ring is so valuable to runners of free enterprise, because it allows you to make these fights more manageable. So, very nicely job by Taylor grabbing that early and being in position to maximize the value out of it.
Exactly, and agility manipulation is just one of the most important things you can understand to become a top-tier runner of free enterprise. That's why I'm not a top-tier runner, because I get the basics, but I can't do that math on the fly, at least not yet. But Taylor has managed to do it. He's going to throw on that brand new Sasuke, going to throw on that power shirt, make everything nice and pretty for this upcoming fight. The Elements fight's still tough. It's certainly not free by any means. So we'll see how it goes. Crispy's going to get through ordeals pretty quickly, but we'll get the bad news of the Cure 3.
Yeah, no, which is unfortunate. I'm kind of looking through Taylor Swifting's inventory just to see what tools he has available to make some of these fights easier. We did not see anything to take care of dragons, so a little unfortunate, but does have white arrows, does have a mute arrow, I think still has one rune axe, so mages, undead bosses can be taken care of. I don't think it has a thunder claw either, so that's a little annoying, as we see one of our lunar sparkles here.
Could be anything. I don't think we've seen two of anything yet, other than Wyvern. It's D-Lunars. That is a find and a half.
Yeah, remember those lunar frogs we saw earlier on Kryspyslick's side?
I wouldn't be surprised to see lunar frogs again. Yep.
Yeah, I would definitely. Yeah, Taylor wading through the script, getting deep enough to do that.
Interestingly, Kryspyslick has found a D-Mist.
Well, unfortunately we know that that's not the answer, but that is the answer to that question we were asking earlier.
Well, one D-Mist, there could be another, but unfortunately we know that's not going to help out. There's not even going to be a potential key item there. All key items are now accounted for. Taylor Swifting is still working on these D-Lunars. They're not doing terribly much damage, and the walls are coming out to begin reflecting the breaths.
Yeah, it doesn't have any Star Veils in his inventory, but it does have enough to at least reflect them back with Form's wall spell, so yeah, the fight is now significantly safer. Those frogs will not do near as much melee damage. They won't be able to do their virus counter script, and they won't be able to do their fire attacks. So just pretty much sitting ducks as these runners do large amounts of damage to them.
Yeah, berserking up the edge and the cane will make sure that they go through the fairly large hit point pools quite rapidly. Crispy is going to check Rydia's mom to find out she has probably nothing of note. Bacchus wine, which is of course not a terrible thing to have in your pocket, but certainly not what Kryspyslick was hoping for. We see those misfiring viruses as Edge and Kane stack up damage on the various frogs. But boy, they do. Man, you would not want to go through these without the lunar frog strategy. That's for sure. Wow.
No, lunar frogs is really one of those strategies that you really do need to learn as a runner, because there are times with that D wall that those D lunars can be just an absolute brick wall. So it's one of those strategies that you want to have in your back pocket to make a extremely difficult fight much more manageable. You still have to weather the storm to get to that part of the script, but it does make the rest of the fight very easy.
And Taylor's now through. Kryspyslick's raising the whale and almost certainly will head to Cave Bahamut, where we'll not find the adamant rock. Is fading the tower, is going to keep fading that very, very difficult evil wall. Completely understandable. But Taylor Swifting has one boss to go, and then we'll be completing the game.
Yeah, and this party is what, mid-50s? There's not too much here that I think is going to trip up Taylor Swifting here. There's only 25,000 hit points to burn through. There's a lot of attack power. There's a lot of magic attack power. But this party has a lot of answers for that.
So, Be No Free is on, which means that you can't just use death effects on these dark imps, even though they're standard enemies, quote unquote. But they'll punch hard, so the blinks will help with that. But functionally, a Bacchus Wine on your melee characters will rip through their hit point pools very quickly.
Absolutely. I see 5,000 damage on that already, and 25,000 split through away is roughly 8,000. Yeah, no. But you can see the danger of this spot here, because they're hitting hard, and the fact that you get those 3 melee attacks all in a row makes the Dark Imps very dangerous on Be No Free, or even if you just don't have the tools to deal with them at certain spots, because, they can just start picking off party members pretty quickly here. But again, Taylor Swifting having the experience, having the hit points, having good defensive gear, having Blink to make it even safer, and that will do it for the Dark Imps, and that will do it for Taylor Swifting here. Just needs to sit through the cutscene here and wait for the official declaration from the game. Very nicely run seed.
A very frustrating seed, I think, for our runners, but Taylor Swifting did a really good job getting through it. Kryspyslick is probably looking at that evil wall and thinking, why isn't the other one that easy? Wouldn't that be nice? But yes, our runners are through their individual challenges, and that is it. Taylor Swifting has won. GG's to Taylor Swifting.
Get your GG's in chat for Taylor Swifting. That was a very rude seed and a very rude adamant hunt. So, very nicely done getting through that and keeping focus and weathering the various storms that the sea threw at him.
Yeah, really, really well done. We'll see if Taylor Swifting joins us here in a moment. In the interim, Kryspyslick's going to go get his package. Doesn't have to worry about chasing it because he knows even if there is a demist there, it's not going to get him anything. And looks like is popping on up to jump in the whale and head to the moon. Yeah, Narrowcad says, just tuned in a minute ago, and with his time, looks like not nice seed at all. It ended up being an adamant hunt, and I've just been joined by Taylor Swifting, so I want to say this was Rexall's fault, Taylor.
I was feeling I was gonna last location of that evil wall, but I told myself early on that was the last. If it's there, it's the last place. So be it. So.
Yeah, you got a little bit of the tracker's curse.
Yeah.
Rex left a comment in chat earlier on. Then he was hoping for a really difficult demist for you. So,
well, demist could have been on the moon or something. It is possible. I'm glad that didn't happen.
We actually found a demist in the mirror room that you reset out of rather.
When I reset out of there, I was thinking I should have waited just maybe another 20 seconds to see what it was. But I'm glad that didn't bite me. So.
Hey, GG's, well done. It frustrating seed in a lot of ways, but you ran it very well. I'm going to run through a couple of questions with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a long time, so I'm trying to remember everything that I wanted to ask. early on when you were getting characters, was there a character that you were really hoping to find? How did you feel about taking the Sid?
I was fine with it. I think I was most happy to see the Rydia start pretty early. Knew I was going to have to keep her on the ground for most of the game, which is not always super fun to do. But Sid's fine. Had a white mage. The one thing that was the one thing I really would have hoped for would have been a better sweeper. Pick up a Palom with access to Quake, maybe a Fu. But I have been practicing a lot, and one of the things with Edge. Having him and Blitz, it's not the most ideal way to get through those Sylph Cave trap chests, but it's doable in a pinch, and so party was fine.
Very good. You were very aggressive in getting underground. You got the hook fairly early on at the Antlion Cave. You decided to skip football defense. You decided to fade ordeals. You didn't check any of the loot in Castle Eblin. What was your thought once you decided to go underground? Just pretty much get there as quickly as possible, or was there any consideration to doing a little more leveling?
Yeah, I mean I think the name of the game in this flag set is get underground as fast as possible and start doing those trap chests. Going down hook route early. So I think at that point I had Sid, Palom, and that's where I picked up the Edge. When I saw the Edge there and I saw the fight, which has been so long I can't even remember what Magus Sisters was there. I knew that I probably would have no trouble pushing through, and there was just something really nasty waiting for me at the first spot on hook route. But the plan was go see what the character there is. If it's something truly awful, we can backtrack loot everything in Cave Eblin. We can maybe go buy some more stuff. But kind of that's the inflection point where you kind of know what is it I'm gonna have to get through. What character did I get there? And do I feel comfortable trying to get through hook route maybe, between that 20 and 30 minute mark? Or do I feel like I'm gonna need to go get more utility or power? So it was a decent sight to see those Magus Sisters. I knew I had a Rune Axe and I mute arrows, and knew I'd probably be able to get through pretty safely.
Yeah, you picked up that Rune Axe on the way down, and we marked, you found a Massa on the way, you found a Rune Axe on the way for that cane. We thought, wow, it's really just setting you up for success against those Magus Sisters. The first thing you did once you got underground was you went up the Keyless Tower. What was the thought there? What were you hoping to find, and how did you feel when it turned out to have absolutely nothing?
Yeah, it really didn't have much, did it? Well, I knew that one, not having a sweeper for Sylph Cave, but having a good way to clear out those searcher trap chests. I knew that let's start there. Let's see what we get. And also, I knew top of tower was either going to be Baron Guards or the Officer Soldier fight. And if it's Baron Guards, it's basically we've just got the same setup we just fought the Magus Sisters with, right? So, we can throw up a couple of Star Veils so we don't get sized. But we've got certainly enough power to do that. In this flag set, I really dislike doing top of tower. It just feels like it's just never anything. But I kind of had a feeling that was a pretty free fight up there. We'll get some experience out of it. And we really, when you're searching for 2 or 3 items, you really can't leave any stone unturned. So I wanted to get that done. And, the experience was good. Yeah.
You made decisions to do Sylph. You didn't have the sweeper. How confident were you going into it that it wasn't going to be too difficult by leaning on your edge?
It was, that's when I went and took, I think, 7 or eggs or so. I wanted to get up to float. And you probably didn't need to do that, but it just makes things a little bit easier. It wasn't like a perfect Sylph Cave. I think the breath, I didn't have a lot of breath protection. It was a little annoying. There was a fight, I think the first ghost fight, the Blitz didn't clear them out, and I didn't really expect that. I had to follow it up with a Boreas or a Zeus Rage or something, but I think taking those eggs and just at least getting to float made me feel like I'm going to be a little bit safer in there. It's a bad place to take a wipe if you've done a couple of chests already. So I'd rather just play it safe than get burnt.
You decided to check the sparkle in the underground, the Fame March basement. At that point, when you saw that evil wall, what were you thinking? I really hope I don't need to fight this evil wall.
It was, yeah. That's a bad place to see. That's a bad boss there at the king spot. I just saved. I kind of was sitting there for a while, working on some equipment, thinking, what is this sparkle gonna be? I think actually the Wyvern turned out to be the best sparkle probably I could have gotten. Maybe a plague would have been pretty free there too. But I figured let's, at minimum, we need to figure out what this is. If we don't think we're gonna take it, we know we're not taking the evil wall. So let's figure out what the sparkle was. Look what we got through it. And then really that evil wall. I mean, for the rest of the game, I got that moon veil at one point, and I was thinking, you know, can I find a ribbon anywhere? You know, if I can't remember at that point if I had magma key or not, but you know, I was thinking maybe we find the rock in Smitty's shop. You know, has ribbons for sale or something. That, you know, that makes evil wall pretty much free. But that was a nasty boss to see there, and it was weighing on my mind, you know, pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, and as we're watching right now, Kryspyslick is taking, I think, his 4th run at it. Ooh. So spread out throughout the seed, but all the same, very, very daunting challenge to have the one key item, you know, that you absolutely, totally must have. You didn't find a pass. At what point did you make the decision we're doing giant instead of pass hunting?
Yeah, I noticed that. Actually, you kind of always get a pass, and it was pretty late in the game. I looked up and I was like, gosh, I know I have magma key. I got magma key pretty late too. But you know, I knew basically at that point that if I hadn't found it by that point, we're not finding it. There's really no more looting to be done. There's no place we can go and you know, grab a few chests. And even then, that's never gonna work out in your favor. So, you know, I think it was, you know, kind of getting pretty late in the game there, but basically just said we're gonna have to do giant. So, yeah, I don't mind giant. Giant was not hard. You know, it can be totally free, or you can run into Demist at that, you know, at that element spot. So.
You we saw one in the sealed cave, and we saw one in Tomra in the treasury there. So yeah, when you poked into Tomra near the end, we were like, oh, is Taylor gonna get a pat? No, not the hero of the people. It's okay. Not everyone can be.
No, we were just looking for those pockets. So they were on the moon, so I'm glad I found them there. It did make the rest of the end game pretty easy. So.
Speaking of the end game, we went back up above ground. You hit Baron first. We assumed that was density of checks. Were you tempted at all to kind of go the other way and start the harp and come down, or?
No, I think harp and earth are probably 2 of the worst checks in this flag set. So start with Baron. It's obviously you get access to, well, you get some bosses, right? You get 3 bosses there, you know, and the basement throne. I think that's the best place to start. You know, I feel like if you're in a bad spot if you're checking harp and earth in this flag set. So
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you were kind of getting to the point there. You were down to, I think it was the moon, ordeals, and then popping underground and taking on the evil wall. We saw you hesitate. You flew right towards ordeals. You paused. You flew left. You flew back. What was the calculus between moon versus ordeals?
I had it in my mind I was going to go up to Cable Helmet, and then I just knew there was going to be nothing at Ordeals, but I figured, you know, it's pretty fast. I kind of was thinking, I think it was, you know, like past the 90-minute mark at that point. I was thinking it can't possibly be there. If it was there, my opponent probably would have already been done already. But I hesitated, and I figured, you know what, I should have save scummed better. I should have at least save scummed at the bottom of Mount Ordeals. But you know, I knew that. I guess I just figured let's just do it as fast. But I really wanted to go up to Cable Helmet, and should have just done that first.
Well, you know, it worked out in the end. So I think at that point it was evil wall, and then basically straight through. So yeah, I think that's it for me. Really. I know it was a frustrating seed, but the boss fights were really well done, well executed. Loved watching Lunar Frogs and the Giant. Yeah, just overall GG's. Roddy, anything you want to toss in?
First of all, Veritas, excellent interview. It was excellent done in the interview as always. I do have one question. You did fade Ordeals early. You did fade the Mist Cave and the Waterfall check. With the 20 key, with the 20 key, 20 bosses check that's available, is that something you just kind of don't try to rush and prioritize, or what's your strategy for setting that up?
Yeah, we're once we find the hook, there's singularly focused on getting down hook route. So, and on a T Pro flag set here, Mist Cave and Waterfall still can have they can still have something decent that's tier 5 or tier 6, but it's not going to be as great as it might be in T Wildish, and it's not just going to basically decide to skip those. We can go back later if we're on a boss hunt. But we had the hook. We're not going to do Fabul. We're not, we'll hope to find the pan and make Fabul more efficient. And we're definitely not doing ordeals. The only time I'll ever do ordeals in the overworld is if it's the last location and I haven't found the hook, or I guess if I have a Cecil or Cecil and Tella, I'll think about it. I have in my practice seeds actually had a Cecil said, you know what, I don't even think it's worth the time to promote him. There's not good Cecil weaponry guaranteed to be available. I might even think about just running with him as Dark Knight for now and actually getting rid of him. So
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, that worked out very well. It's worked out very well for you, and excellently run this seed. So GG.
thank you.
Yeah, great game. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the win. Keeps your hopes alive for the next part of the tournament. I know.
Yeah.
I think you need. I can't remember who needs to win, but there's a chance.
Yeah. Outside chance, need a little bit of help, but thank you to everybody. Thank you for restreamers. Thank you to everybody that's put on this tournament. It's been a really nice, refreshing time for me to get back into the free enterprise game. I've been off playing other games for a while, but kind of this is my first love, I think, and it's been really it's a fun tourney, fun flag sets. And I'm just really happy that we've been able to put on a good tournament so far. Looking forward to the rest.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to jump back into it, folks, because Kryspyslick has encountered Zeromus, and I see some Z flags in chat, so we're going to very quickly run through this one. Can't move him. He's too big. He's too bad. He's too nasty, folks. So we randomize the sprite. So when the crystal gets thrown a second, Roddy, what are we going to ask?
Whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Woohoo! We got it done before we actually see the button. Way to go.
One of our hundreds of community-made custom sprites here for Zeromus that he'll be cosplaying as, and today it is, drumroll please,
Waluigi must. Wah, wah, wah.
Not appearing in Smashmas.
Amazing. The perfect Zeromus for this extremely trolly seed.
Yeah. So, be interested to see. Lovely counter nuke there directly on the Edward. That's not ideal, but that is also a very fast Zeromus.
Well, remember, I think the curse ring is on, but very, very fastly. We will see.
I don't think Crispy ever took I don't think I saw the Artemis bow come off of Zeromus, so that does negate a lot of the agility decrease from the curse ring. But he is going to be using looks like he's going to be doing primarily reflex strats or hybrid strats, because the berserk did come out on the edge as well. So should be able to shoot through this HP relatively quickly here.
Yeah, got the big swords on the edge, got the power shirt, got the strength ring, everything a growing edge needs to take down a living incarnation of pure evil.
Oh, Waluigi's not that bad.
I beg to differ.
But yeah, I just want to say, first of all, great job on Kryspyslick for getting through that evil wall fight. I know that was very rough. It's a very tough fight in general, and just things not going his way throughout the whole thing. But he took the right approach to it. He bounced off of it. He went and did other things. He reset himself. He didn't just keep throwing himself at it and trying the same things, or trying to do something that he was able to recognize wasn't a very high probability victory. That's really kind of the approach that you have to take when you get stuck in this game. You just kind of have to look at yourself and say, hey, this isn't right, you know. But you got to avoid that quicksand feeling of trying to push and trying to make something happen to break yourself free. You kind of just have to stay calm, either take the fight extremely conservative, or just say, hey, let's go somewhere else and we'll just save that for later. So, I will say very nicely done by Crispy to at least keep plugging through this scene.
In almost all ways, Kryspyslick was making better decisions than Taylor Swifting. Originally faded that tower. Was unable to take on the evil wall first, but did try it, and that was the right move. You know, went to the Dwarf castle, got Bahamut, got the Rydia up to power very quickly. In this case, it was one runner's making good decisions, but there were some challenges on execution. And GG's, by the way, Crispy, you are through. You've defeated the Waluigius.
Nicely done.
Real nicely done. But yeah, it's like there was a little bit better execution on Taylor's side, but Kryspyslick was making some better decisions. So there's so much with that type of decision making. There's a huge ceiling here, and I think that is amazing to see.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point. You know, Kryspyslick's instincts as and routing were very strong.
Yeah, we'll see if Crispy chooses to join us. I would completely understand if he doesn't. It's been a long seed, but if we get a chance to talk to him, we'll ask him a couple questions.
Unfortunately, as a racer, I have been in Kryspyslick's shoes, and it's just one of those ones where you just want to go scream afterwards. But you know, again, very nicely job of keeping it together and finishing off, and not too far behind Taylor, honestly.
No, given the challenges, right? Like, I get you bounced off that evil wall, you're gonna go do the rest of it. Okay, that's the last thing I'm gonna do. But the instinct was there. The execution, I think Crispy's got a lot to learn by watching this one back and seeing where there were a couple errors made. And I don't think they were necessarily, by definition, fatal errors, but certainly they added up. And we talked about this during the stream. Small decisions can mean big minutes when they add up.
Yeah, you know, little things like not getting that curse ring right away, not being able to back row that Edward and keep him protected to do extra damage. You know, things like that did add up.
All right, folks, so we've just been informed that Crispy has chosen not to join us, but we want to wish GG's to Crispy. All the same, congratulations on getting through it, showing how it's done, making that Zeromus look like a real chump. And yeah, and I think that will do it for us. Roddy, anything you want to add?
You know, excellent race between these two runners. Really, like you said, you know, a few things going a little bit differently, and you know, Kryspyslick would have been very much in the driver's seat, but Taylor Swifting showing off a lot of game knowledge, a lot of practice, definitely showing through in the execution and being able to get through that difficult evil wall and find that adamant rock finally after the very lengthy hunt these runners both went through. So very nicely done, and of course, very nicely done for you, Veritas. Always great calling these races alongside you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So, folks, we're going to call it there. So, first of all, thanks to Taylor Swifting and Kryspyslick for agreeing to be restreamed tonight, putting on a great show for you. Thanks so much to FBL for connecting the streams, making the internet data flow through to your eyes and ears. Thanks to Rex for cursing our runners and for pushing all the buttons, lighting things up. And thanks to you, Roddy, for being here with me. Folks, this has been the Eidolon Express Grand Prix. We're nearing the end of the Falcon Cup, so keep your eyes posted on our Discord, available ff4fe.com. Follow us here, twitch.tv/freeenterprise. and you will be able to watch the next time we do a restream. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. We'll be rating John Burkhead here in a moment, so stay tuned, and you can maybe learn something over there. Have a great night.